OYTPC, Joshua Stewart, smoking a pipe up north in the woods. Been a pretty busy weekend. I'm recording this about 11 o'clock at night on Sunday, April 14th. And I don't know how many hundreds of miles we put on, mostly yesterday. We left the house it was well before the sun got up. I think it was about 5:30. Which I know a lot of you guys are hard at work by that time of the day, but I'm usually not to work until about 8:30, so it was early for me. And the kids too, that are used to not having to be to school until about that time too. So long day, and we got home about 10:30 last night. My youngest daughter had a competition, and well, like any parent that is there's some subjectivity to the officiating and some frustrations with that subjectivity. But all in all, it was a good day. Did have a little free time while we were there, so took some time to hit some thrift stores, antique shops, junk shops, all that kind of stuff. Been to this town a few other times, and they've got actually a couple of pretty decent stores that I like to visit. Some of them have gone downhill since the first time we were there a few years ago, but they're still not too bad. But did find a few things. Let's see, one of them, at one of the thrift stores, I picked up a tripod, which it's not heavy duty enough for my big camera, but it'll hold the phone just fine if I ever need to hold something more than 3 feet off the ground. It's got the telescoping legs and the, I guess, head mount that can move up and down. And yeah, that hit, I think, three different thrift stores, and that was all I found of any value for myself. And found one antique shop. We went in there and browsed around for a while. And first got in there and it's like, oh, this stuff is like way overpriced. Then we got in a little ways, and well, I realized it was one of them, like a antique mall where everybody's got their own booth. So every booth or whatever had different type of stuff and different pricing structure. So if you know me, you know I like my antique tools and vintage usable tools. So even though it's not the Tool Time Tuesday, I'm going to share the tools that I got. Got another one of these old Stanley screwdrivers that I was missing for my collection of Stanley screwdrivers. It's a stubby Phillips. Dave! I don't know if it showed up on camera, but Mittens just bit me. It's like, you're not petting me. So he bit my arm and forced me to pet him. But anyway, so got another one. I'm only missing a couple from my collection now of these old Stanleys. There's a name for this series that were made like in the 60s and 70s mostly, but they're nice screwdrivers. So like I was saying, we're kind of, this is Tool Time Tuesday stuff, but I just had to show it off a little bit. And another thing I got, vintage Stanley, I believe it's a number 75, bullnose rabbit plane. I don't have any of these old bullnose rabbit planes, and I've always wanted one ever since junior high wood shop. And the old industrial arts teacher was teaching us about the tools, and they had a bullnose rabbit plane in the tool cabinet, and I always thought it was the coolest little tool, and I never got one until now. I finally got one. And $6, which, I mean, it's not a particularly valuable plane, and yeah, they'd probably go for double that on eBay, but it appears complete and usable, so I was excited. Then my wife, as we're running out of time and had to get going, I'd only been through about half the antique shop, and we had to be out of there within like the next 10 minutes probably. I'd already spent a half hour in there. And she said, "Did you see the old pipes?" Like, no, there's old pipes in here. Yeah, I'll show you. Well, I didn't want to just go there. I needed to make my rounds because these are. I wasn't. I got to go in order through the store, otherwise I'll miss something. So I got through the rest of the stuff, and I didn't really find anything of much interest to me. She said, "See, there they are. There's a bunch of old pipes." I went, "Oh, cool." First thing I saw was an old meerschaum with a case, but the stem was broken. I don't remember. And like I said, they probably had a dozen pipes there, and some of them were kind of cool, but they're all in such bad shape that unless I knew it was something really, really special that I wanted to put a whole bunch of effort into fixing up, they were, in my mind, they were priced for pipes that were cleaned up and ready to go, even if they weren't in perfect condition. But they all needed it. I think just about every one of them had a broken or bit through or chewed out stem or mouthpiece. So, long story short, in the condition they were in, I wouldn't have given maybe about a fourth of what they were marked at. And if they were close, I'd have probably offered them something, but like there was one that was $45, they had it marked. I'd have maybe given them 10 or 15 for it. Granted, I'm a little bit on the cheap side, but it was in tough shape, and like I say, I think every one of them needed a new stem. So I was excited, and then I felt let down. So I didn't walk out with any pipes. I was still thrilled to get some of these little hand tools that I got. Then we had to go back, do some other stuff for a while, and then we had a little bit more time. So we found another store. I would hesitate to call it a thrift store because I think it was a dumpster rescue store because everything that was in there looked like it was pulled out of a dumpster. I mean, it was mostly just junk. But I did find one thing. Granted, it's nothing special. It's just a cheap, mass-produced pipe stand, and it's missing the canister. And they were asking $10 for it, which it's not in perfect condition either. So it's like, it's not worth $10. But getting ready to walk out the door, and said to the guy, "Do you got any specials going on today?" And yeah, we got the whatever it was that they had set up outside on some special for a really good deal. And I'm like, well, I wasn't interested in any of that stuff. And of course, he said, yeah, and if you see something, maybe we can work on the price for you a little bit. Which that type of store, you assume that. But so they had $10 on it. Say, not the greatest shape, not top of the line, well built. I said, how about 5? And he looks at it and thinks, and says, how about 8? And then I'm like, I don't need it that bad because I like to do a little woodworking on the side too, but I just haven't had time to make myself one. So I said, yeah, I'll just leave it sit for $8 then. And I start walking away, and he says, well, I'll tell you what, I'll let you have it for 5, which I kind of figured he would anyway, but I wasn't interested in it for more than $5 either, so I would have walked away. So handed him my $5 and went out the door. So now I've got a pipe rack. I have to find some sort of canister that fits in there real nice and looks nice and clean it up a little bit, but yeah, nothing special, but now I have a pipe rack. I've not really been storing my pipes properly up to this point. So I'll just have to make some room for the stand rather than just kind of, all my pipes are, I don't want to say they're in a pile right now, but they're not organized and they're just kind of laying wherever they'll fit. So and I was planning on, after church today, I was planning on coming home and getting the taxes finished up. But the in-laws, my wife's parents, they stayed with us last night, and actually they stayed with us Friday night too because we had to leave so early in the morning that so I was planning on after church I was going to do the taxes, but the in-laws, they ended up sticking around for the whole afternoon. They didn't leave until I think it was after 8 o'clock. Which I wasn't too worried because I didn't have too much left to take care of. It was just some of the state stuff to get finalized and figured out, and the plan was to hopefully get it e-filed yet tonight. So I got everything finished up, and I went and did all the verifications to make sure everything's good, and I go to e-file and it says I got a problem with the firewall or something. So I adjusted this setting, that setting. Finally, I shut the firewall off completely, and I still couldn't get it to upload my e-file. Tried it several times. Couldn't get it to work. Then finally my computer froze up. So that's where I'm at now. I said I haven't really had a pipe to speak of since Thursday or Friday. I think I did have one Friday evening, but it's like, I'm going to go out, I'm going to have a pipe, and I'm going to try to burn away some of my frustrations. And I'm going to go back in and try to get this figured out and get the e-file done, because I don't want to have to print out dozens of pages of forms and all that fun stuff and mail it all in. And of course I overpaid, so I'll be getting a refund, which the whole refund thing, you get mixed emotions of that, because the government had your money for interest free for all those months, but at the same time it's kind of nice to get a little bit of cash all at once. So anyway, holy cow, this is supposed to be another 10-minute ramble, and we're going to be 20 by the time I get it shut off. But haven't even told you what I'm smoking or what I'm smoking it in yet. This is a Lozano. I don't remember what the shape, or I don't know if it's got a name other than the brand name Lozano, which I've never really heard of. It must be like a basket pipe brand name or something. Though I think I pointed out the stem is really kind of a pretty stem. It doesn't really show up too well in the on the camera, but it's got some like pearlescence in it. And in it, I've got my Davidoff Flake Medallions. Which they're usually one of my top 5 favorites, but since I tried that Escudo last week, kind of everything is getting reevaluated. And it's not tasting as good to me as it did a month ago. So, and this is the one where I usually just do half or a little over half a flake, because it'll knock me on my butt if I'm not careful. But given my frustrations, I put a whole flake in there tonight. It's like, I'm not a big fan of the whole nicotine end of this, but I'll deal with it. Say it. If it starts hitting me too hard, I'll just stop and dump it out. Otherwise, I figured I'd just come out here for a relaxing pipe. Step away from the problem for a little bit, and I'll go back in there and hit it. So, oh shoot, we're well over 20 minutes now. Well, I won't be offended if you had to watch this at 1.5 times speed or whatever speed you're comfortable watching at, because that goes with any of them. It doesn't really bother me what speed you watch it. I watch plenty of videos at 1.5 times just because that way I can see more different stuff. But we've been running way too long on this one. So I got a lot more I'd like to say. But we'll have to save that for another time. Being I shared my tools on a Sunday night, I don't know if we'll do the tool time end on Tuesday, but although I've got plenty of tools, I could find something. I'm not worried about that. All right, with that, I better call it good for now. I'm going to finish this pipe, but I'm going to let you go. This is Joshua Stewart, smoking a pipe up north in the woods. Have a good day.